Welcome back to Mortgage Chicks with Hot Tips. I'm Diana Harvey.
I'm Stacy Van Skank.
I'm Cindy Walker. And I'm Kim Hairstay.
And I'm Steve Richman, and I'm a wannabe mortgage chick. Okay, I mean, somebody pinch me that I'm here. I'm so excited that I'm here. This is awesome. I am Steve Richman. I am the National Director of Strategic Growth and Branding for Van Dyke Mortgage, and I get to work with you wonderful people.
Awesome. We are so looking forward to talking to you today.
Steve, what is your message to realtors out there in the market that are wanting to give up right now?
Don't. In a word, don't. Look, first off, nothing is easy right now. You tell me what industry is like, oh, we're just coasting, no problem. I have friends in the medical profession. They're like, you can't believe what's going on over here. Whatever it is, that's the first thing. We're in a tough world right now. It's not a tough real estate market. We're in a tough world. Second thing, when I look at what's going on and how we're doing it, I'm an old dude, okay? I mean, I was here 2008, 2009 when there was the bubble, and we'll tell you, hands up, right? Mm-hmm. And we survived the bubble, and actually those who rode through that bubble did what? They ended up coming out better on the end of it because they not only did they gain that experience and that history, the people who they were working with got to see that they rode through that and that they were the true professionals. And so don't give up. And I went through it, right? I don't know we all, but and we're all still here. So
we all did.
The market is what the market is, and it is tough right now. And Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, do you know who that is by any stretch of the imagination? Okay,
No.
so
Can we lie?
okay.
Do share.
I do all the time. But I actually used to talk about her back in 2008, 2009 in my presentations. And I have not talked about her and her findings in 12 years, 13 years. I'm bringing her back out. And she is the 5 stages of grief. Right?
Oh.
Right? So Dr. Kubler-Ross came up with the 5 stages of grief. And when I think about that, you start with denial. And we're all like, well, we've been in, no, we're in Florida or wherever you are. The market's going to be good. It's not going to affect us here. That's just those crazy people moving from California to Idaho. I think we're done with denial, right? I mean, that's where we are. And then there's anger. Well, I don't understand why this is happening. I've done nothing wrong. Why is this happening to me? And I will say this, and please, I get the anger, but the finger pointing right now that is going on is so unproductive.
Yes.
Stop telling me that it's this politician or that politician or this country or that country or this industry. You're not solving anything. Move on.
Right.
Okay? Just move on. Mm-hmm. Then we get into the whole world of the bargaining. Well, maybe I should start looking at something else. Maybe I should become a discount. Let me tell you. Don't become a discount real estate agent. Don't become a discount loan officer, because all you're doing is discounting what you're worth to the world. So when the market then changes, you know what you're not able to do? Well, you can't then say, I'm no longer doing the discount, because you've already priced yourself
Out of the market.
and out of the market. I mean, think about what happens with the world right now. When we look at homes, right? People say, oh my God, well, my home was once worth this, or stocks, right? Well, it went up to this. I'm not going to accept a lower than that, and this is the top value or the low value. Well, how could gas be what it is? I used to buy gas when it was, and when I bought milk, it was a nickel at school. Okay, right? So why is it more expensive now? Same concept. If you go in and you start to strike that bargain and say, I'm going to do everything at a discounted price, guess what you are? You're that discounted price forever. You can't then bounce back and say, well, the market's good. It's time for me to start charging more again. So don't take that bargain. Don't do that. I think that's a huge mistake. Depression, there's a lot of it going on. Quite honestly, the depression is not just in regards to what's happening within our market. I think it's what's going on with the world that's around us. So I think we got to move past that depression into acceptance, and this is where we are. So that's the Kubler-Ross theory, is you got to go through all of those, but the quicker you can get to acceptance, people are still going to need houses. People are still looking for somewhere to live. There's still builders that are out there. We got to get people to acceptance.
Right. Now, is it the same message for buyers as real estate agents in this difficult market? What would you tell a buyer?
Absolutely, it is. It's this, whoever you are. It's the same thing. I don't care if you're a buyer. I don't care if you're a real estate agent. I don't care if you're a mortgage professional. In times of crisis, and I'm not saying we're quite at crisis yet. We're at crazy. We're still at the CR, but we're not at crisis. But when you're looking at that, the first thing, don't give up. The second thing is, that is the time when discipline counts. That is the time when you know your process, your procedure, your own personal playbook that you've been doing. This is my process. This is when that counts. When things are going good and the phone's ringing and we're rocking and we're rolling, we can deviate a little bit. So are you somebody who believes in the core? This is your time to do the core hardcore. Are you somebody who does the marketing animals? This is your time to follow that program hardcore. Are you a Xenix person? Go do that. But now's not the time to just, hey, let's take a swing and just sort of see what happens and how it is. This is the discipline procedure is going to really help right now. That's number one. Number two, I always look at this. You need to talk to your customers because they're all thinking, especially the ones that have bought in the past, well, this is what the market, I've done this in the past. This is a totally new world. So we have to go out and say, how can I help you become a better buyer? A better buyer. Oh, well, you know what you shouldn't do? And I know we've always said, don't open up a new credit card, but it's even beyond that. Don't go buying a car right now. Don't be doing a cosign right now. Oh, you think you're going to need more money for a down payment? Because a lot of people now are saying, I'm tired of fighting with these cash people. I need more money for a down payment. Okay, what are you doing to start saving more money to be for your down payment? What are you doing to up your credit score? What are you doing for all of these things to prepare yourself to be a better buyer? That's second thing. Third thing, I want to talk to every single person and tell you things are going to go wrong, but I have a plan. So if I'm a real estate agent, if I'm a loan officer, if the appraisal comes in low, I don't want you to panic. This is what we're going to do. If there's 6 other offers that come in and ours is not the highest offer, this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to be a whole lot more comfortable if you've already planned for the possibility of the problem that we know is going to happen anyway, as opposed to just say, I didn't see that one coming, and we know there's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So why aren't we planning for that problem? And telling them what our plan is up front, because what that does is that eliminates any concern that they have. Because I'm a big believer in right now, and this would be, I think I'm on number 3 now, number 4, is over-communicate. In the absence of communication and information, what do people do? They make up their own stuff. And the stuff that they're going to put in their mind is going to be negative, negative, negative. So what we need to do is say, hey, this is where we are. This is how it's going. The appraisals are taking a little bit longer right now. Prepare them for that the appraisals are going to take longer right now. Over-communicate, because as soon as you don't call them and tell them, hey, this is what's going on, rates are changing, and Lord knows rates are changing all the time, they're going to get mad at you because they're going to start playing. Why? They're hiding something from me. They tell themselves that own story, and that's a horrible thing to do. So if we over-communicate, we eliminate them telling themselves that negative story. I think it's part of over-communication is, from a lending person, I would say bring your listing agent into your communication profile. So, like I said, I was here in 2008, 2009, and remember we used to do the cry letters to the lenders, like, oh, this is why my credit isn't perfect. I had a car accident. We called them cry letters, right? This is why I'm a damaged borrower. And then it changed from that to say, okay, now I want you to contact the seller of the home and tell them why you're a good person. Now it's, we need the LO to contact the listing agent to say why this is a good buyer, why I'm a good LO, and why this is going to go through. Because that removes all that concern, caution, and angst in that person when they get comfortable with that. So those are some of the things, practically speaking, that I would do right now in today's market.
Well, Steve, we know that you've presented a lot of different venues across the nation. And what do you think that, from your experience of what you've been doing recently in different markets, could help our local agents in this marketplace?
The world is tech, right? I mean, whenever I go out, nobody's talking about, oh, here's a really neat new, everything, the neat new, the shiny new, it's all tech. So I'm telling you, if you want to be involved, look at your tech. You already have your database. Now there's these wonderful things that you can plug your database into and the technology, and then it spills out that information and communicates to all your customers that are out there. So where I'm seeing the biggest change that you can leverage is in the technology. When I go to these conferences, it's not like, let me show you what a rate predictor and how I'm going to tell you this, that, or the other. It's look at this brand new technology that's out there. So pay close attention to tech. I'm watching that all over the country. And I'm watching a lot of these fintech companies team up with lenders and real estate agents, and they're becoming one, because the reason that we have the new entrants coming into the industry is they're bringing a new technology with them. It's not because they've figured out, oh, I have better relationships. They're saying I have better technology. So I'm looking at technology.
Which we're
over and
all
over.
learning right now as we change our front end system at Van Dyke Mortgage,
Yeah,
just to
new
bring new
technology.
technology.
Right? But that's
Yeah.
where it is. And
Yeah.
it's really scary, right? Because the minute, and I know for me, it's like, oh my gosh, if I go buy a new car or I go buy a new TV, I don't want to buy a new TV. Why? Because the minute you buy that new TV, what happens?
You need a new catalog for how to.
Well, not just that, but now you have yesterday's technology, because tomorrow's TVs, now they're going to be 6K. I got 7K. Can you get 8K? Oh, mine's curved. Mine's flat. No matter what you get, you're always chasing the technology, and we're reluctant to do it, but you got to stay on top of it. You have to stay on top.
For sure.
And what about, like, Steve, I know you travel around and everybody's talking about the housing bubble that happened in 2007, 2008, and we're not seeing that coming up here, are we? As far as the,
Well,
you know.
can we go like this when we say that? Right? I mean, I'm up for a finger crossing anytime. The views and opinions being expressed here today are the views and opinions of Steve Richman. They are not the views and opinions of Van Dyke Mortgage. So therefore, if you disagree with my views and opinions, and if they're wrong, please don't get upset with Van Dyke Mortgage. Contact my attorneys that happen to be me, because I'm an attorney. So let's just put that out there right now, right? I went through 2008, 2009. What was the problem in 2008, 2009? The problem in 2008, 2009 was there was too much inventory. Why was there too much inventory? Because there was no equity, and home values were what? They were so low, and then the lack of inventory forced them even lower, and therefore people, they owed $300,000, so they had no equity on a house that's now worth $200,000, and hence
Bad situation.
bubble. In the market today, it's the exact opposite of that scenario. And I know it pains us all on the short term to say, there's low inventory, I'm not making as much money. Low inventory is a blessing in this market right now. It hurts. It's a painful blessing, but it's a blessing. Because with the low inventory means what? We don't have the bubble for those people who are not able to make their payments or whatever. They have equity. So they're not going to do what? They're not going to walk away. See, when everybody walks away, there's more equity right now in home ownership than there's been at any other time. So now that there's equity, before I had no equity, I'm underwater. I walk away, now there's a glut of inventory, now the prices drop even further, hello bubble. Now it's like, I can't make my payment. All right, there's no inventory. I know I can sell it like that. Now I got $100,000 cash. Yeah, I know I'm going to have to go rent something or whatever, but guess what? I'm now in. So by looking at the lack of inventory and the high equity position of people right now, that is helping us sustain, not have a repeat of 2008, 2009, that bubble. So could a bubble come? Absolutely. I mean, the other big difference now than then is we're a much more international world. So this is what happens at home, but things that can happen overseas and other places can also have a great effect. So I can't say no bubble, because there are things that could cause that, but for where we are right now in that myopic viewpoint, those two things are keeping us out of that bubble.
Steve, I find it really amazing that you brought up the 5 stages of grief. I just did a presentation on that because I literally watched one of my buyers go through all 5 stages.
So maybe we should change chairs and we should be interviewing you, because clearly you're you're knowledgeable.
No, no, no. It's just I saw it. I watched a guy literally go through all 5 stages, and he'd call me at every stage, and he finally got back to the acceptance stage. And yes, this is just what it is, and I just need to think differently, was his comment to me. So thank you for actually making me feel like I had a clue.
When I sold my home, well, when we sold our home, we had somebody come up and say, hey, we haven't been able to get 9 times we've had our offer denied. And I was like, here comes 10. I mean, no. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I mean, you got to accept what the marketplace is, right? And I saw that, but I'm like, how can I get you to acceptance? You're still fighting me to try and get me to buy my home, but you got to accept this is what the market is doing. Now, you didn't ask this question, but I'll ask the question for you. So what am I seeing in regards to, hey, what are people not talking about?
Oh, that was going to be my next question to you. What are they not saying?
Yeah, right? The one that I'm watching, and it's scary, it's not rates. Rates are going to do what rates are going to do. They're going to go up, they're going to go down. I was there, I've played in 12%, 13% markets, and it's going up to 4.5. They're not a little sympathy. I was there at a much higher rate. The inventory, this is where we are. We are in a situation that we are creating ourselves. And when I say that, I mean the real estate and the mortgage professionals. Let me back up even on that. I'm going to say something, and especially to you, because you're a political animal. And one of the problems we have in politics today, is I just simply say this, is the minute you say something that has a political tone to it, it's very divisive, right? It's like, oh, I heard this word, now I'm not hearing anything else you say. So I'm asking all of you who are listening, this is just a factual statement here. It doesn't mean that I like or I dislike. Actually, I do like. I like capitalism, okay? But capitalism is not perfect. That doesn't mean I'm a socialist. That doesn't mean I'm a communist. It means that when you take capitalism, there's pros and cons to it. When you take socialism, there's pros and cons to it. When you take communism, there's pros and cons to it. What we are seeing in our market right now is one of those cons of capitalism I'm scared of. It's making me look, and because I'm not seeing an actual answer to it, and it's the industrial investor. And when I say that, right, so when I go back to that person who's lost out 9 times, the more we bring in that industrial investor, they're going to go to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now, why is that capitalism? Because if you look at it, in capitalism, we look very hard at the economy. We look very hard when you pick winners and losers. It's who's done well financially compared to some of the other isms that are out there, and they all have their own flaws. So they're coming out and they're saying, well, wait a second. There's a lack of inventory right now, so I could go build an apartment building and buy that. There's a lot of government regulation in that. There's a lot of liability in that. Or I could just offer $20,000 over for that house that's on the market right now. By the way, I'm cash rich because I get to borrow from the banks even less at a lower rate than what the mortgages are right now, because that's just how my company, we can leverage that. So I can go borrow that, and then I can jack up the rate on these rents. Now, what we know, and I think we all know, one of the wonderful benefits of real estate is home ownership has benefits. Home ownership builds community. Home ownership builds safety. Home ownership builds a network that are around you. But when an investor comes in and says, hey, I'll give you $20,000 over asking price cash, and I'm leaving that community, you're not incenting me to try and do what's best for the place that I'm leaving. And I'm watching that as capitalism. We're saying, hey, here's a place where I can profit. But I see while that person's profiting, I can see where the downside's going to happen in the not too distant future, that it's going to be the destruction of that community because it's now going to be rental city. That scares me to the degree that I've actually reached out to the MBA and the National Association of Realtors to say, hey, what are you all doing about this? How can we lobby on this? How can we set up rules. I don't know what the answer is. I hate speaking to anybody and saying, hi, here's an issue, and I have no idea what the answer is, but I literally do not. I'm asking for help. Hi, I'm identifying an issue.
Yeah.
Somebody help me solve this.
Well, the first thing is understanding it's there and it's happening and
Yeah.
acknowledging it, acceptance.
Yeah.
Then we can at least reach out like you have and try to come up with answers.
Right.
Because you're so right. That is dead on the issue.
But that's what capitalism. Hey, I can make
Yeah.
as a consumer, I can make more money if I sell it to that industrial investor. The industrial investor, I can sell it more because I can make more money because I'll go rent it for even higher. And we're creating this vicious circle where, you know what we just did? We cut out the real estate agent and we cut out the loan officer because we got a cash person who's a corporation that comes in and says, hey, we don't need any of that stuff. Boom, we're
Right.
done.
And you're making it harder for people to
And-
buy property and own property, and that's the single best way to obtain net wealth. That's the other issue.
Isn't that amazing? Right? If you look at diversity, and there's a big push in diversity, and I'm a big believer in diversity, you just see study after study, what is keeping certain cultures from getting ahead? And the answer is home ownership, because they haven't been in home ownership in the past, and that is one of the quickest and greatest ways to accumulate wealth and to be able to do that. And now if you're taking that opportunity away, how's that going to improve things for our nation? And I'm watching it, and it scares me because I
we
don't know
have
the
an
answer.
entire podcast on that topic.
on that.
No, just on
And
that topic alone.
I was speaking to a realtor this morning on the way down here. She has 40 offers on one of her listings. 40 in 24 hours. And I said, please, whatever you do, explain to the seller what the different type of buyers are. So she was going to pool in with cash, with FHA, with industrial buyers, and explain what's going to happen to the neighborhood. Do you have pride in home ownership? Do you care about your neighbors? Do you care about the HOA? But I think people really need to explain better the intention of the industrial buyers and help people achieve the ability of home ownership. It's been taken away.
And it used to be, home ownership was what? It was the American dream, right? You got the husband, you get the wife, they got a kid, they got a dog. Now I need a home. Now it's like, hey, I'm looking for a profit center, right? And that's a really big shift in that dynamic. The other thing, though, you asked me, what can people do? And you just said it. I thank you so much for reminding me. If you know that you want to go live in a certain area, like, I like that neighborhood, meet people in that neighborhood and tell them if anybody is leaving, reach out to you quickly.
Good point.
Why? Because let's say you're leaving. You don't care what happens to the neighborhood, but you're the neighbor. You want me in there. You don't want that, right? So now if I go to you and say, if you know anybody in the neighborhood, now I got you on my side who's friends with your neighbor who can help move that along. So absolutely pick your neighborhood. Shake hands, kiss babies. Get there and get other advocates for you to meet your potential neighbors, because they can help you, because they have incentive to have you in there for some of the others.
Steve, you have been awesome. You have shared with us some inspiration to
I want to
keep
be
going.
a mortgage chick. I mean, this is like my demo tape to try and sit on that side of the room. That's what my goal
We
is.
can get you a wig.
What are you trying to say?
Well, you've given us some great inspiration, some great things to think about, and also you've really helped explain that industrial buyer and why seller and buyer, and why we really need to pay attention to that. We all want to really thank you for wanting to be a mortgage chick.
Thanks for having me. You guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please send us an email to mortgagechicks@vandykemortgage.com.
Be sure to like us on Facebook at Mortgage Chicks with Hot Tips.
Also, you can find us on YouTube, and you can like, share, and comment.
Watch for our podcast, and we will see y'all next week. Bye now.